She called the cops and screamed, "He's trespassing on HOA property." But I was standing on my own land. The afternoon sun hit my face as I stared at the brand new wooden fence cutting across my driveway. It wasn't there yesterday. My truck was parked on the other side, trapped. I could see her, Karen, from behind her sunglasses, holding a clipboard like she was running a government agency. "This is private HOA territory now," she said, chin up, voice sharp. "You can't just park here anymore." I tried to stay calm. "Ma'am, this is lot 47. It's not HOA land," she smirked. "It is now." We had a vote. I almost laughed. This wasn't even an HOA neighborhood. Half these houses were on county land. I should know. I'd been the one who surveyed the whole area 10 years ago, long before she moved in with her neighborhood beautification committee. Still, I kept quiet. No one around here knew what I did for a living. After my wife passed, I just wanted peace, a few acres, and quiet mornings. But Karen had other plans. A pickup pulled up. Her friend in an orange vest jumped out, hammer in hand. "We're putting up the full perimeter today," he said, not even looking at me. "On my property?" I asked. Karen crossed her arms. "You'll get an official notice soon. Maybe next time you'll read your HOA rules." The way she said official made something twist in my gut. She wasn't bluffing. She'd faked paperwork before. Last month she'd taped a non-compliance violation on my gate because my grass was too tall. But fencing off my land? That was new. I pulled out my phone, started recording. She noticed, stepped closer. "You think that's gonna scare me?" She hissed. "You're lucky we didn't call the sheriff yet." I smiled a little. "You might want to check who the county surveyor is before you do that." Her face twitched, but she recovered fast. "We'll see about that." She turned, waving for her worker to keep going. The hammer hit wood. As the first post went in, I stared at the fence line. Right through the survey markers she probably thought were rocks. She had no idea the line she just crossed wasn't just on paper. By the next morning, half my driveway was gone behind that fence. A notice of property reassignment was stapled to it, printed with some fake HOA logo and her signature scrawled in bold ink. It almost looked real. Almost. I stood there holding my coffee, watching her water her flowers like she didn't just steal a man's land overnight. Then her voice cut through the air. "Morning, neighbor. Don't forget, you'll need a parking permit if you're planning to use our road again." I didn't answer. I walked back inside, pulled open the drawer where I kept my old work badge. County Surveyor's Office, Authorized Land Boundary Officer. I hadn't shown that to anyone in years. That's when I noticed movement through the window. Two men in dark shirts, community enforcement, their vests said, were measuring my mailbox. I stepped outside. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" One of them, tall with mirrored glasses, said flatly, "Ma'am from the HOA says this mailbox violates street uniformity code." "We're replacing it," I frowned. "Uniformity code? There's no such code in this area." Karen walked over, pretending to be surprised. "Oh, I told them to double check. Maybe you just forgot. New bylaws passed last week." Her tone was sweet poison. She loved an audience. A few neighbors watched from their porches, whispering. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone again. "Mind if I record this for my file?" That hit her. She tried to sound calm. "Go ahead. You'll just embarrass yourself." But what she didn't know was that I already had access to the county's GIS system. Real boundaries, coordinates, and legal designations. Her fence wasn't just an annoyance. It was a felony. I looked at the men and said evenly, "If you touch that mailbox, you'll be destroying county property. You might want to check your authorization before continuing." They hesitated, exchanged looks. Karen snapped, "Do it." "He's bluffing." That's when I showed my badge. Quietly, slowly, the taller man froze. Karen's smile slipped for the first time. "This property," I said, pointing to the fence, "is registered under Parcel 47B, county jurisdiction. That makes this entire fence an illegal structure." Her voice cracked slightly. You can't just—" "Oh, I can," I said. "And you've got about 6 hours before I file the violation." Her color drained, but she still whispered, "You think you're scaring me?" "I know people," I nodded. "Good, call them. You'll need all the help you can get." As she stormed off, I looked at the fence again. Something about the way it was placed bothered me. Too precise, too intentional. Then I saw it. A small metal box buried near the corner post, half covered with dirt. That wasn't part of her fence. And whatever it was, it definitely wasn't supposed to be there. I knelt down, brushed the dirt off that metal box, and felt a chill. It had a blinking red light and a tiny antenna. Looked like a tracker or some kind of signal transmitter. What the hell was Karen doing with that? Before I could inspect it more, I heard her voice again, louder this time from behind the fence. Step away from the property line. That's HOA equipment. I turned to face her. HOA uses motion sensors now. Her lips twitched, and for a second she didn't know what to say. We were upgrading for community safety. I could tell she was lying. I'd seen tech like this before. It was a construction-grade GPS tracker used for land mapping. The kind surveyors use. The kind I use. So why did she have one buried under my driveway? I decided not to confront her just yet. Instead, I took photos, careful to get every angle, every detail. Later that evening, I drove down to the county office after hours. The front desk was dark, but I still had my old key card. Inside, I pulled up the property database on the main terminal. When I entered my parcel number, 47B, something strange came up, a new entry. Updated just 2 days ago. Ownership. Pending transfer to Willow Creek HOA filed by Karen Whitmore. My hand tightened on the mouse. She'd actually filed to take my land, but that wasn't the part that got me. The approval section. Someone inside the county had already stamped it in review. That meant someone from my own department was helping her. I saved the document and printed a copy. I knew exactly what to do next. Back at the ranch, my headlights caught movement by the fence. A car was parked near the edge. Karen again, talking to a man I hadn't seen before. He wore a sheriff's badge. Fake or not, I couldn't tell from that distance. They both turned when they saw me pull in. Karen smiled, too confident. "Evening," she said sweetly. "Just discussing your trespassing issue with local enforcement." The man stepped forward. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to stay off HOA property until this is sorted out." I didn't blink. "And I'm going to have to ask for your badge number." He hesitated. Karen quickly cut in. "Don't be difficult. We're trying to handle this peacefully." I stepped closer, keeping my voice calm. Funny thing about peace, it usually doesn't involve fake badges. His hand went to his belt, resting near his holster. Karen's smile faltered, but she stood her ground. "You're making a big mistake." I took a step back, lifted my phone again, and said quietly, "You have 5 seconds before I call the real sheriff's office." Her mask cracked for just a heartbeat. And she whispered, "You wouldn't." "Oh," I said, with the faintest grin. "You'd be surprised what I would." And as the red light on that metal box blinked faster in the dirt beside us, I knew this wasn't just about property anymore. Something bigger was going on, and Karen was right in the middle of it. The next morning, I woke to the sound of engines outside. 3 trucks lined the road, engines humming, men in reflective vests unloading equipment. I threw on my jacket and stepped out to find them unrolling blueprints across my hood. Karen stood behind them, coffee in hand, acting like she owned the world. "Morning," she chirped. "We're starting the drainage project today, HOA approved. You'll need to move your vehicle off our easement." "Your easement?" I repeated, walking closer. "You mean my land?" One of the workers glanced up, uneasy. "We just go where the paperwork tells us, sir?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "I bet you do." I leaned over to look at their map. It had county seals, my parcel code, and signatures. But the signature at the bottom wasn't mine. It was forged. I met Karen's eyes. "You filed this yourself." She smiled, tight, almost proud. "All perfectly legal. I told you shouldn't mess with the HOA." I exhaled, forcing calm. "You've made a mistake, Karen, a big one." She leaned in, lowering her voice. "No, you did. When you built this house on land you don't actually own." Her confidence made my stomach twist. But she didn't know that I'd already printed her fake ownership file last night. I had proof. And if someone inside the county helped her, that meant this wasn't just neighborhood drama, it was corruption. I didn't argue. I just nodded and said, "All right, go ahead with your little project. I'll be here." She frowned, confused by how calm I sounded. Then she turned to the crew and ordered, "Start digging." While they worked, I walked down to the old barn. Inside, in a box under the workbench, was my old field gear, survey drone, GPS reader, and most importantly, my body cam. I clipped it on, powered up the drone, and sent it high above the fence line. Within seconds, I had the full grid, real-time coordinates, elevation, boundaries. The fence, her trucks, even the hole they were digging. It was all clearly inside my parcel. That's when I saw something on the live feed. A second metal box, just like the first one, being buried under the soil near the road. Karen's worker covered it fast, almost like they didn't want anyone to see. I zoomed in, snapped a shot. There was a logo on the box. Not HOA, not Construction County Infrastructure Division. She wasn't just faking papers, she was using real county equipment. That meant someone high up was feeding her resources. I lowered the drone, walked back up to the site, and said casually, "Hey, Karen? You sure you have all your permits?" She didn't even look at me. "Of course I do." I smiled faintly. "Good, because I just forwarded your coordinates and construction logs to the state property board." Her head whipped around so fast her sunglasses nearly fell off. What did you do?" "I told you," I said softly, stepping closer. "I'm the county surveyor who approved your neighborhood plan, and I just flagged every single violation you've made." The workers froze. Karen's face turned pale. "You can't do that." "Oh, I already did," I said. "And by the time you finish your coffee, your fake paperwork will be on every official's desk in this county." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just stared, shaking, before whispering, "You don't know who you're messing with." I leaned in, my voice calm and low. "No, Karen, you don't." And just as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Stop digging. You're in danger." The message froze me where I stood. The number was blocked, no name, no ID, just those 4 words glowing on my screen. "Stop digging. You're in danger." I glanced toward Karen. She was busy arguing with one of the workers, waving papers in his face, pretending to still be in control. But I could see it. Her hands were trembling. She'd seen the message too. Maybe she knew what it meant. I stepped back toward my truck, pretending to check my phone again while secretly turning on the body cam's audio. "Danger from who?" I muttered under my breath. The answer came faster than I expected. A black SUV rolled up, tinted windows, no plates. 3 men stepped out in suits. Too clean for construction, too serious for HOA business. Karen's whole demeanor changed. She straightened her hair, forced a smile, and met them halfway. One of them, a tall man with a shaved head, spoke quietly to her, but I caught bits of it. Said he found the box. "We told you not to use it here." Karen's voice shook. "I didn't think he'd notice. He's just some old land guy." "He's the county surveyor," the man interrupted. "You don't understand what that means." I stayed still, heart pounding. Whatever was happening here, it wasn't about fences anymore. Those boxes, they weren't trackers. They were transmitters. And they were being buried across several properties, disguised as HOA equipment. When the men turned toward me, I acted casual, leaning against my truck. "You folks lost?" I asked, forcing a half smile. The tall one stepped closer, eyes cold. "We're conducting authorized county work. You'll need to clear the area." "Funny," I said, holding up my phone, "because I am the county, and I don't recall authorizing anything." For a moment, no one spoke. Karen's smile faded completely. The man's jaw tightened. "This isn't your concern." "Oh, it's very much my concern," I said quietly, hitting send on my phone. A live feed from my drone went straight to the sheriff's office and the local news outlet's tip line. "Because I just shared every coordinate of your project, along with video of your unauthorized installation." Karen's face went pale. "What did you do?" The man stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You just made a big mistake, Mr. Surveyor." I met his eyes. "Maybe. Or maybe I just saved a few thousand people from whatever you're really building." A moment of silence hung heavy in the air before he turned sharply to his men. "Pack it up." Within minutes, the suits were gone. Karen was left standing there, shaking, her fake confidence crumbling. I walked past her slowly, my voice calm but sharp enough to cut. "You should have stuck to fake lawn citations, Karen. Now you're part of something you can't control." She tried to speak, but nothing came out. That night, I barely slept. Every light in my house stayed on. Around midnight, another message appeared on my phone. Same blocked number. "They're not done. Next, they'll make it look like you built the system." My stomach dropped, and outside through the window I saw headlights pause at the end of my driveway, then slowly roll forward right through the fence line. The headlights crawled closer, crunching over gravel until they stopped right in front of my porch. My motion sensor light kicked on, flooding the yard with pale light. The same black SUV, same tinted windows. I slipped my hand around my phone, ready to hit record again. The driver's door opened. A different man stepped out this time. Mid-40s, neat suit, calm expression, not like the others. He raised his hand slightly, palms out. "Mr. Hayes, I just want to talk." "Then talk," I said, keeping my distance. He stopped halfway up the path. "You found equipment that doesn't belong to you. It's part of a data network under county contract. You've already complicated things by sending that footage." "So it's real," I said. "And you planted it under private property?" His jaw flexed. "The installation was approved. Some paperwork got confused." "Confused by Karen?" He exhaled through his nose. "She's not important. She was supposed to distract you, that's all." That landed like a punch. "So she knew what you were doing?" "She knew enough," he said quietly. "And now she's in over her head." "We all are." The porch light flickered. A low hum buzzed from under the ground, faint but steady, like a generator waking up. He looked over his shoulder at the SUV. "They activated early," he muttered. "I told them to wait." I felt the boards beneath my feet vibrate. "What's under my land?" He looked back at me, the calm gone now. "A network node. It's harmless if left alone. But the system wasn't supposed to go live until next week. If they synced the transmitters wrong, it could fry the lines under your whole property." I took a step forward. "Then shut it down." He hesitated. "I can't. Not without access to the main control grid, and I lost that when you sent your footage." A flash of light flickered from the fence line, followed by a crackling sound. Smoke drifted up from the dirt where one of the boxes had been buried. He swore under his breath. "We have to get everyone off this road." Before we could move, a familiar voice shouted from behind the SUV. "What the hell is going on?" Karen stormed toward us, hair a mess, barefoot, clutching her phone. "My house lights are flickering. What did you do?" The man turned on her, furious. "You triggered it when you buried that last unit without calibration." She froze, realizing she was in real danger. I didn't know." Another flash, brighter this time. The air smelled like burnt wire. I yelled, "Both of you, move!" grabbing Karen by the arm as the ground near the fence erupted in sparks. She screamed, stumbling back. The man dove behind his SUV, shouting into a radio. Then everything went silent. The humming stopped. Just smoke and the smell of ozone hanging in the air. Karen sat on the dirt, shaking. What was that?" I looked down at her, breathing hard. "That," I said, "was your HOA project almost turning this whole block into a fire zone." The man stood, brushing dirt off his jacket. "This is going to be bad. People are going to ask questions." I met his eyes. "Good, they should." He sighed, then handed me a small flash drive. "This has the network schematics and the names of everyone involved. Use it carefully, and for God's sake, get out of here for a few days." Before I could say anything, he got in the SUV and drove off into the smoke. Karen looked up at me, eyes red. "They'll blame me for this, won't they?" I nodded. "They already are." And then, right as I turned toward my truck, I saw blue lights flash down the road, real police this time, racing straight toward us. The sirens grew louder until the flashing blue swallowed the night. 2 sheriff's cruisers skidded to a stop in front of the smoking fence. I stood there, hands raised halfway, the glow from the wrecked transmitters pulsing like dying embers. "Step away from the scene," one deputy shouted, gun half drawn. Karen jumped up from the dirt, screaming, "It was him! He planted something. He tried to blow up my property." I almost laughed from how desperate she sounded. The smoke, the chaos, it was the perfect setup. She was panicking, and they were buying it. The deputy turned to me. "Sir, is that true?" I shook my head slowly. "No, officer. You might want to check who called this in." Before he could answer, a 3rd cruiser rolled up. This one with Sheriff Dalton himself. I'd worked with him years ago, back when I was still active in the county office. He stepped out, recognized me instantly. "Hayes?" he said, confused. "What the hell's going on?" Karen jumped in before I could speak. "He's dangerous. He trespassed, destroyed HOA property, and now he's trying to sabotage county systems." I didn't say a word. I just reached into my pocket, pulled out the flash drive the suited man had given me, and handed it to Dalton. "Before you believe anything she says," I told him quietly, "plug this in." He hesitated, then nodded to his deputy. A minute later, they had my drone footage on the cruiser's screen, clear as day. Karen directing workers to bury county transmitters, the men in black SUVs, the explosion, everything. Karen's face went ghost white. That's fake.
He edited it.
Dalton turned to her. Karen Whitmore, right? You realize these transmitters were tied into restricted government networks. You could be facing federal charges. Her voice cracked. I didn't know. They told me it was HOA security equipment. Dalton frowned. Who's they? She hesitated, eyes darting toward me, then to the road where the black SUV had vanished. I don't know his name, she whispered. I crossed my arms. Of course you don't. Dalton looked at me again, more serious now. You sure you want to be involved in this, Hayes? This isn't just an HOA mess anymore. I didn't choose to be, I said quietly. They brought it to my land. The deputies started roping off the area with tape. Karen sat on the ground, muttering to herself, makeup streaked with tears. For the first time, she looked small, like the power had drained out of her completely. Then one of the deputies called out from behind the fence, "Sheriff, you need to see this." We walked over. Buried deeper in the dirt, just past the burned transmitter, was a steel case. Bigger, heavier, marked with a faded government emblem. Dalton crouched down, brushed off the soot, and read the label out loud. Project Zephyr, property of U.S. Department of Infrastructure Testing Division. He stood slowly, his face hard. This isn't local. I stared at it, unease crawling up my spine. Whatever that thing was, it had no business being under private land. Dalton turned to me. You were right to film everything. But Hayes, I think you just stumbled into something that's not supposed to exist. I looked past him toward the horizon. The smoke was thinning, but in the distance, far beyond the hills, I saw more small red lights blinking in perfect sync. Not one box. Not two. Dozens. Karen followed my gaze, her voice trembling. They're everywhere. I nodded slowly. Yeah, and we just woke them up. Dalton stared at the blinking lights on the horizon, jaw tight. The deputies whispered among themselves, unsure whether to move closer or run. The wind carried that faint hum again, low, steady, alive. Karen stood beside me, shaking so bad her phone slipped from her hand. You said they'd stop it, she whispered. You said it was done. I said they left, I replied. Doesn't mean they turned it off. Dalton looked at me. What exactly are these things? I shook my head. They called them network nodes, data transmitters. But if they're government grade, they're not for internet or security. They're mapping something, maybe testing power distribution or something worse. He turned to his men. Lock down this area. No one leaves, no one touches a damn thing. Karen suddenly snapped, desperate. You can't keep me here. I didn't do anything wrong. Dalton looked right at her. Lady, you buried government hardware on private land. You're staying until I figure out why. I saw the panic build in her eyes. This wasn't the fake HOA queen anymore. This was someone who'd been used, discarded, and now realized it too late. While Dalton organized his men, I crouched near the steel case again. The burned edges revealed small glass tubes inside. Faint blue glow flickering from each one. It pulsed in rhythm with those distant red lights. Dalton, I called quietly. It's sinking to the others. He knelt beside me. Meaning? Meaning this isn't isolated. They're all connected. Before we could react, every phone and radio in the area crackled at once. Static filled the air, followed by a calm male voice. Distorted but clear enough to understand. Unauthorized interference detected in Grid 9. All nodes entering lockdown protocol. Dalton stood, shouting orders. Deputies grabbed their gear, radios blaring with noise. Karen covered her ears. What does that mean? She screamed. I looked out over the horizon again. The blinking red dots started changing, turning to white, then blue, one by one. It means someone just noticed we found them. Dalton barked. We're pulling out now. We barely made it to the cruisers before a deep rumble rolled through the ground. The fence posts rattled, dirt cracking like something massive was shifting underneath. The steel case began to sink slowly, like the earth itself was swallowing it. Karen screamed, Make it stop. Please make it stop. I grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the car. You wanted control of this neighborhood, Karen? Congratulations. You just found out who really owns it. Dalton floored it down the dirt road as the last transmitter blinked white, and then darkness. Total silence. Every light in the valley went out. The sky turned black except for the stars. We stopped miles away, engines off, hearts pounding. Dalton finally spoke. We'll need federal backup. This is beyond county. I stared back toward the hills. Even from here, I could see faint outlines, huge circular patterns burned into the land where the transmitters had been. Karen sat in the back seat, whispering to herself. They said it was just for HOA data collection. They said it was safe. Dalton looked at me. What are we dealing with, Hayes? I exhaled slowly. Something that was never meant to be buried here. And someone's going to a lot of trouble to make sure nobody asks why. Then faintly, my phone buzzed again. Same blocked number. Leave the county by dawn, or they'll finish what they started. I stared at the message, my reflection trembling in the dark glass, and said quietly, looks like this isn't about property anymore. It's about survival.